Kerry Lutz with Ty Andros on The Wrap. We're reviewing the weekly events. Ty, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm watching these markets and just shaking my head. I want to find a Geiger counter because they sure do look radioactive now.
Well, there's all sorts of evil running about, and actually it's quite interesting. You know, we started off the week with the Fed minutes, and that's just basically a bunch of hot air about they're not going to print any more money, which is, you know, they're going to print $25 trillion or more, Kerry. I'll say that before we get started. But the only way they can keep commodities and gold from running away to the upside is through market manipulation when it comes to gold and silver, and a bunch of hot air about no more QE. And of course, neither one of them is correct. You know, the people, gold's had a heck of a pullback for 6 to 9 months, but the weak hands are gone. And the people that are buying gold now are other central banks. And they're not in it for a trade, they're in it for delivery. And they've sold more silver than is virtually going to be produced this year. Also more gold in the last 2 weeks. And so we're making, what I believe to be the right shoulder of a Head and Shoulders bottom. They're taking on the wrong group. It's different than taking on the people in GLD. They're just printing money as quickly as possible, which is, the same thing. It just buoys gold and silver up. But the perps are running out of rope, and they're going to hang themselves. And I couldn't urge people more to be buying the pullback, because nothing has changed. The insolvencies are deepening. In fact, going exponential. Just as it's breathtaking to watch. I'm gonna say that, but everybody's getting bearish of gold, and I'm just delighted by it.
So you're thinking that the market's going to be heavily down on Monday?
Oh, the stock market's going to gap 150 points lower.
What makes you think that?
Well, it's there right now. That unemployment number came out this morning, and it was a cold shower. It was half of what was being forecast, and that supply. On that note, the dollar broke. The S&P is going to be down at this point $20, and the Dow futures are down about 120, and so Monday morning's we'll call it Monday morning mayhem. And it was just a terrible report. Yesterday there was a great report out of Canada, which in proportion would signal an 800,000 increase in the United States. Well, the United States didn't follow the script. And it was just a bloodbath, and everything else is the Ministry of Truth and, political wrangling with the numbers, but even that didn't help any.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. They're manipulating those numbers like crazy. The numbers are totally false, and 120,000 jobs was the best that they could do. It's pretty pathetic.
It's very pathetic. And, Kerry, a lot of the growth over the last year or two was nothing more than inventory building and channel stuffing. GM is choking on cars, but they've been recorded as sales.
When they ship them to the lot, it's a sale whether they sit there or not. That's the whole fallacy of the auto sales numbers, because it isn't deliveries to the consumer, it's deliveries to the dealer, and there's a little thing called demand that has to take place for that final step for the cars to go off the lot into the garages.
I'm just going to say it. The GM is still a dead man walking. They were given a new lease on life when Obama took them through his illegal and bankruptcy process, where the rule of law was trashed. They don't build cars that people want to buy. Quality's crappy. They're still laid up with the pension obligations, and we're just waiting for them to run through what goodwill and money they have been able to make. The other manufacturers are actually doing quite well, whether it be Toyota or Ford or or Chrysler, they're actually selling cars because they're making cars that people want to buy. We're going to see more mayhem in the world's biggest automaker before it's over.
Yeah.
But that's years away.
Mhm.
And then I guess I'd like to talk about Spain.
Yeah, Spain.
And Spain is now on the glide path to Greece. And the contagion is in full bloom there. Spanish banks have taken down almost half of the long-term repo operations and turned around and bought tons of toxic Spanish debt and are continuing to do so. At the same time, as maturities expire and mature, they're not being able to roll the debt. So, and it's the banks that are taking it down to substitute for private sector demand. And of course, that's going to continue because anybody that got caught in the Greek debacle knows where that goes. And they will just be getting haircut after haircut. And so the spiral is going to continue. So I'm really looking at a 60 to 120 day time frame, and there will have to be, obviously a European response, but it's got to be an ECB and IMF response as well, just because of the sheer size of it. Italy is in the same position, just a little bit behind it. Mario Monti and the puppet government of the ECB are having trouble putting through any kind of labor market reforms. And so, the saga continues, the insolvencies deepen, the amount of money required to fix it just gets better, higher, and, the bills just continue to mount. There's been some nice papers out from, I guess it was Morgan Stanley this week or Citigroup, and it detailed the amount of money printing is still at the $25 to $30 trillion window. And of course, they're really just talking about on-balance sheet issues. They're not talking about shadow banking, which is probably larger requirements than that. So, they can talk about not printing any more money, and of course they have to keep denying it right up to the day they do it. And of course that's going to happen. It's going to be like Groundhog Day for the next 5 years.
So the game is on. The game hasn't changed. They're still kicking the can down the road, and until the collapse occurs, nothing's going to change.
That's correct. But the riots are coming. The people are coming. There is going to be an off with their heads moment, and it's whether they have enough fear and force in the public to be able to maintain their grip on societies. I believe that they're not going to pull it off. But we've got a real demagogue in the White House, and he just preys on people's ignorance. It just I'm sure you saw this week when he thought that the Supreme Court invalidating a law because it's unconstitutional was unprecedented. Well, let me tell
Marbury versus Madison, the first constitutional law course we study in law school.
The whole thing law. There is that they have negated 1,200 laws in 200 years. It's far from
nothing novel.
Nothing novel. Well, it's far from being unprecedented. In fact, it's precedented.
Well, what's really interesting about it is that originally they didn't really want the Supreme Court to have that power, and Marbury versus Madison, first case dealing with that, was really irrelevant to the case. It just settled the law that they could invalidate statutes of Congress, and there was an uproar over it. So if you want to go back 200 years, maybe the case was wrongly decided, but that is the law of the land, just like so many other cases, and there's no getting away from that.
Well, it's so inconvenient for politicians to have to curb their power. They, obviously think they should have power over everybody and everything, and spent their whole careers and lives taking it and destroying the Constitution. And it's a wonderful turn of events when the Supreme Court actually decides that the Constitution has some meaning, rather than a piece of jello that is evolving. It's not evolving. It was never supposed to evolve. It was supposed to curb government from becoming the Leviathan that it has.
Yeah, it wasn't a living, breathing document, as they say. We got to wrap up now. It's look out for Monday. People want to learn more about you, what you're doing. Where do they find you?
Well, they should go to tedbits.com and sign up for my website, which is there, and they'll automatically get a subscription to my newsletter. I did release a newsletter last week, which is called Windshear. I urge you all to listen to it. And I just got done doing 4 30-minute podcasts with Gordon T. Long, and they're going to start being released tomorrow on financial repression. And, we've got a lot of PowerPoint slides and comments, and Gordon is one of the hottest analysts out there, both technically and global macro. But traderview.com, if you want me to help you diversify your portfolio, and I'll call it Stop the Printing Press, and learn how to make money when markets go down or sideways, or we don't care which way it goes, the way that we invest. It's all an opportunity. But anyway, I can't thank you enough for having me, Carrie, and I wish everybody out there a happy Easter, and God bless you all. And it's the greatest opportunity in history or your demise, and you get to decide.
You get to make the decision on that one, and you can go find this interview or others with Ty, as well as many others, on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. And we will talk to you next week, Ty. Have a great holiday, and hopefully the weather will hold out for Easter Sunday.
God bless you, Carrie. God bless everybody.
You too. Be well.